about you, but I love Disney movies. You have catchy fun songs, cute lovable characters, and a feel-good storyline. Seriously, I miss being a kid and watching a Disney movie on VHS every weekend. But now, times have changed. VHS tapes are gone, there's Disney Plus, and Disney is now scarier than ever. Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm your host, Lindsay Ivan, and today I'm bringing you the top 10 scary Disney movie theories. Starting off this countdown, we have Finding Nothing. And by this, I'm referring to the Disney Pixar movie Finding Nemo. Theory goes that Nemo is actually dead. Sadly, he didn't survive the attack at the beginning of the film that killed his mother and siblings. The whole movie is actually about a father trying to come to terms with the death of his wife and kids. As a result, Nemo is a figment of his imagination. Now, all the pals that we see along the way are all trying to help Marlin cope with his grief, whereas Dory is said to be his psychiatrist helping him along his journey to acceptance. In fact, the movie shows the 5 stages of grief. First, we have denial, which we can see by Marlin always babying Nemo and not wanting him to go to school. Then we have anger, which was when he got mad at Nemo for swimming out too far. We got bargaining, which was his entire journey across the ocean. Depression, which was when he almost reached Nemo and then he saw him getting flushed down the toilet. And then finally, acceptance, coming to terms with the loss of him. In fact, Nemo in Latin means nobody or nothing. So the name literally translates to finding nobody. In our 9th spot, we have the secret villain. According to this next theory, the real villain of Toy Story 2 is none other than Wheezy the Penguin. Yeah, that's right. In the movie, Woody finds Wheezy all dusty and alone on Andy's bookshelf. For years, he had been severely neglected by Andy, all because he has a broken squeaker. As a result, he became very jealous of all the other toys that Andy loved to play with, especially Woody. Therefore, Wheezy decided to include himself in the yard sale, knowing that Woody would try and come to his rescue and hopefully be sold in the process. It was his scheme all along to try to get rid of his competition and become Andy's #1 favorite toy. Moving on to number 8, we have the pathological liar. Who am I referring to? Cinderella, of course. The story of Cinderella is told from her perspective, but others claim that her stepmother and sisters aren't as sinister as she makes them out to be. In fact, this theory takes a look at it from their perspective. So Cinderella was a young girl from a wealthy family. She was very privileged and never had to do any chores. When her stepmother came into her life, she was trying to teach Cinderella that she can't ride on her privilege and her family's wealth. So she gets her to start helping around the house by doing household chores. But since Cinderella has never done any chores in her entire life, she feels like she's being punished. And she makes everything more dramatic than it actually is. So she acts like she's doing really cruel chores. Then her sisters seem evil since they are living in a house that's rightfully hers. So the whole movie is about Cinderella overreacting to every little thing, simply because she has a poor work ethic. In our 7th spot, we have the evil nanny. Mary Poppins may be a little stern at times, but she only has the best intentions, right? Or does she? According to this theory, Mary Poppins is the master at manipulation. She may seem practically perfect, but in reality, she is a cruel demigod that is trying to gain control of the entire human race. I mean, she definitely has superhuman capabilities, like, hello, her endless bag of stuff, or the fact that she can fly with an umbrella. Now, her plan begins by infiltrating families and getting them to conform to her ways. All the families end up blindly following her ways. We see that she has mass admirers and devoted followers. She is slowly but surely taking control over families so that they will always do what she says, and she can end up ruling the world with a loyal following. In our 6th spot, we have Up to Heaven. The Disney Pixar movie Up has one of the saddest beginnings in Disney movie history. It's a real tearjerker. The only thing worse than that might be this theory. So according to this theory, Carl died in his sleep shortly after his wife passed away. The adventure he goes on through the movie is his journey to the afterlife. I mean, he literally is in his balloon house floating up to the sky, aka towards heaven. Russell is his guardian angel trying to make sure that he gets to heaven unharmed. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with The Purge. This one has got to be one of my personal favorites, just because of how outrageous and hilarious it is. So we all know the movie High School Musical. I mean, it's a movie that defined my childhood. To this day, I still have every single song memorized. And yes, I brag about that, okay? Those songs are everything. Anyway, this theory suggests that High School Musical and The Purge exist in the same universe. I know, but how else can you explain how the students get away with trashing the cafeteria, or how Lava Springs in the second movie didn't get shut down, or how Miss Darbus got away with forgery by applying to Juilliard on behalf of Troy? Seriously, none of their actions have consequences. You know where else you can get away with anything? On the Purge night once a year. Just saying. Making our way down the list at number 4, we have the hallucinations. Let's move on and take a look at Alice in Wonderland, shall we? Whether we look at the book or the Disney movie adaptation, it seems like the theme of drug use is always apparent. This theory states that Alice is a drug addict that would go on crazy trips. In fact, it is said that the author Lewis Carroll was an opium user. It was rumored that he was on drugs while writing this book. So in the Disney movie, we have the caterpillar that is constantly taking hits from his pipe. We have Alice who drinks potions and eats mushrooms and other edibles that have different effects on her body, quite literally, and the whole movie is filled with crazy characters and events. So the White Rabbit is the alias that her drug dealer goes by. He says, "I'm late for an important date," meaning he's gotta be on time for all these drug exchanges. The theme of madness present throughout the film highlights how dangerous the effects of drugs can have on you and how it can cause you to spiral into madness. In our third spot, we have The Gruesome Murder. The Emperor's New Groove was actually a really good movie. Like, it deserves more attention. Like, Yzma and Kronk are an iconic duo. Now, this theory shows how evil Yzma actually is. In fact, it's thought that Kuzco isn't the first human Yzma has turned into a creature. So in one of the scenes, Kuzco ends up wandering into a scary-looking jungle. While doing so, he witnesses a fly trapped in a spider web. The fly says, "Help me," right before being viciously eaten by a spider. Well, isn't it quite weird that the fly had the ability to talk? I mean, Kuzco interacts with several other animals in the movie and none of them can talk, except this fly. So this has led people to believe that that fly was actually a human that Yzma then turned into a fly, meaning that that scene is much darker than we realized. It's the human's last moments of life. In our second spot, we have the deathbed. According to this next theory, Snow White may not have had a happy ever after. So in the film, we see that Snow White is woken up by her true love's kiss. But in reality, the prince is the personification of death. Snow White was laying on her deathbed. The prince's kiss was actually a Dementor's kiss that sucked the last little bit of life out of her, meaning she actually ends up dying at the end of the film. She then wakes up and imagines her perfect ending, riding off with her prince. Notice how she rides off to a castle literally in the clouds? Hello, she's on her way to heaven. And in our number 1 spot, we have the Angel of Death. This theory revolves around the film Peter Pan, Peter being the angel of death. Theory goes that Peter comes and takes the souls of dying children. He then takes their hand and guides them to heaven, aka Neverland. Now, this explains why the Lost Boys and other kids in Neverland don't grow up. It's because they are already dead, which is pretty sad if you ask me. This also means that Wendy commits a murder-suicide by killing herself and her brothers, since they all go to Neverland with Peter. Now, author of Peter Pan, J.M. Barrie, created this land for his brother that passed away at 13. So the theory about Neverland being for dead kids is kind of true. And that's all for today's video. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite Disney movie is. Now let's move on to our comment shout out portion. I'll be shouting out comments from my video, Top 10 Scary Internet Urban Legends Part 6. King of Cheese commented, "Who's ready to get spooky? I wish I could be spooked instead of being spooky." You're the king of cheese, okay? There's nothing spooky about that. That's awesome. But like, what cheese are we talking about? Are we talking about that Gouda? Little Gouda? Are we talking about mozzarella? Cheddar? I don't know. Good choices. Sophia Skulfer commented, "I love your hair. It's always on point." Bam. Thank you. I don't know why I did that, but thank you. Sicario Morris commented, "Me watching this while eating cheese." What's with cheese in the comments lately? Okay, but what kind of cheese? Let me know in the comments below what your favorite cheese is. I gotta go with mozzarella. Mozzarella is just classic, you know? It's not too strong. You can have it on like anything. Pizza is really good. Yeah, and that's all the comments I'm shouting out for today's video. Make sure to comment something down below for a chance to be featured in my next comment shout out. And as always, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see you. But since Cinderella has never done it in her entire life, But since Cinderella has never done it in her entire life, oh my god. You know what else you can get away with? You know where else you can get away with? What? This theory states that Alice was a drug addict that would go on. This theory states that Alice was a drug addict that. This theory states that Alex.